this too. So thanks for being here. We're excited to have you.
Thanks.
So tell everybody, if they don't know who Ken Wimberly is, tell us about you and your path to Seth. We sent out an email that kind of described a little bit about you, but would love to.
I'll actually this little endeavor here. Part of what I'm about.
Good.
My journey and my endeavor here.
Well, you just take off whenever you want. I'm sure we'll have people that join, the 5-minute mark, but.
So for housekeeping, okay, so I've got I'll talk about, our topic today is leaving your legacy, and it's really about my own journey into leaving a family legacy and what it's meant for me. Yet it applies to so many people. So that's the kind of topic for today. I've got a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to share on the screen. You all will have the benefit of, as you do when you watch this, of seeing both the presentation and each other. As the presenter, I can't see you. So it really sucks. There's no interaction. So I can see a chat though. So I encourage everyone to have your chat up. And if something resonates with you, please chat it in. If there's a little Q&A that obviously I have to do the pregnant pause and continue on myself, chat something in there because that's the only thing that I'll be able to see as I have this presentation up. I will do Q&A at the end. Everyone's muted. If you've got something that you just absolutely need to have, and you can put it in the chat, and I will try to address it, but I'll be happy to do Q&A at the end of this. And with that, I'll get started. Let me share a screen. Ding, ding, ding. And let me see the chat out of here. Okay, I've got chat up. Someone, y'all type in the chat. Let me know that you can see the leaving your legacy screen there. Boom. Okay. So, well, first of all, let me thank you all. Thanks for attending in really investing an hour of your time. I know that we all get the same 24 hours in each day, and how we spend our time, it's limited. We're bombarded with so much opportunity these days to participate in trainings and ways to educate ourselves and help ourselves and help each other and help our clients. So thank you for investing an hour of your time with me today. So Tara was asking, who is Ken Wimberly? So here's a little, bit of who am I and my journey. I'm almost 49 years old. I'll be 49 in a month, in June. I've taken many, many different paths in my life. I've been a student. I served in the U.S. Navy. Actually, during my college career, I left college at Gulf War I and went to serve in the U.S. Navy. Have been in the insurance and investments field. That's actually what I did out of college, was insurance investments field. I've been a pizza delivery driver. I've been a restaurateur. I later owned one of those restaurants that I had used to drive pizzas for in college. Been a commercial real estate agent, actually for the last almost 20 years, been a commercial real estate agent, been a business owner of KW Lease Advisors, business owner of Wimberly Group, my wife's residential team, business owner of Ken Wimberly Abilene. I'm OP of that market center. I am a real estate investor. I'm the co-founder of Laundry Love, which is a chain of laundromats that are mission driven. We have a mission to improve the lives of our customers, of our team members, and of the communities in which we operate. And I'm the founder of Legacy of Love, which is a parent-to-child journaling app and platform, kind of person-to-person journaling app and platform with a mission to serve 10 million families. And my most important role is that of husband and father. So there's lots of different components to who I am. And if you just looked at that, it looks all rosy and awesome. Yet it only tells scratch the surface of the story. Excuse me, because I've also been bankrupt, both financially and kind of spiritually and morally bankrupt at different periods of my life. And with the financial bankruptcy, it was the restaurant that I had started, it failed. I made countless mistakes on that, many of which were real estate related, which is odd since I spent the last 20 years of my life in the commercial real estate business. But at the time, I didn't know squat about real estate and certainly about commercial real estate. So I made a lot of mistakes there. And I was also filled with kind of hubris, thinking that I had it all. I didn't need a bunch of help from other people. I had no coaches, had no real mentors. It was just figuring it out on my own. And so that resulted in a serious gut check in bankruptcy there. Got back on my feet, got into the real estate business, started building things back up, had a successful career going there. And then the 2008 crisis hit, and damn near found myself back in the same situation because I was getting ahead of myself. We built a big house. My wife was pushing for big house, all the fancy stuff, which we had, and we were frankly living beyond our means. Actually, we had great means at the time, but she lost her job. Our means got cut in half. And then the market crashed. And then, shortly thereafter, we ended up losing the big, beautiful house. That's actually a picture of our home that we got to participate with the bank with a short sale and get rid of that thing. So kind of started all over again in 2009. And so as we talk about things today, this discussion contains much of what I've learned in my almost 49 years. And along this journey, I've learned a lot about myself as a human, as a man, as a husband, and as a father. And part of that journey, it started with a gift. And it was the most heartfelt gift that I've ever received. And it came on my 34th birthday. And it came from a rather unexpected source. And that was my stepmom, Donna. She gave me this beautiful leather-bound book. It was kind of big and thick like a photo album. And the first photo in that book was actually the first photo of my life ever taken. It was my wrinkled little baby face with a hospital bracelet on and my hands up by my face from the day after I was born right there. And this book was filled with photographs and stories of my youth. It had pictures of family members, my aunt and cousin that had passed away many, many years ago. It had dates on the pages so that I could understand how old I was. And it was filled with handwritten notes in the margins that told stories, the many trips that we had taken together as a family and the jokes that we would tell on those trips. It was just so filled with love. And she'd even included newspaper clippings from my time when I was at military school and had trivia at the front of the book. Actually, you can see on this page, there was a page that described the name Kenneth, and there was trivia from the year I was born. And it chronicled my life from birth to adolescence, my time at military school, college, and on to my marriage and birth of my first two children. And I cried when I received that gift because I was so moved by the thoughtfulness of it. I could only imagine how much time and effort she had taken and put into creating that for me. I mean, it was digging through boxes of photos and double checking dates and researching the trivia and the surname history and everything she had done. I was grateful beyond measure. And 2 years later, Donna, my stepmom, was diagnosed with bone cancer. She had beaten breast cancer 20 years earlier, but as it often happens, the cancer came back. And it came back with a vengeance. She fought a brave and courageous battle, but eventually it's made its way to her lymph nodes, and we lost her. And today, that leather-bound journal that she gave me is a testament to her life, to her character, and to her generosity and love. And it was her legacy of love to me, and it's something that I will cherish until the end of my days. And I hope to pass on to my children and grandchildren when I'm gone. So in life, we never know how long we get, but our legacy can live on forever. And that's what today's discussion is. I want to talk to you about how to leave your legacy. And my belief is that it all starts with how we live at home and how we spend each day of our lives. In my family and our household, kind of think of it as the 3 L's, and that's laughter, learning, and love. And in life, there's something known as the rule of 3, and that basically states that our brains are hardwired to remember things best when bracketed in groups of 3 or maybe 4. And without being consciously aware of it, it's all around us. So I'll give you a few examples of this. One is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? This is the play along part where normally if we were in face-to-face with each other, we would do some play along here. So a government of the people, by the people, we all remember this, for the people. Blood, sweat, and tears. And then location, okay, this is for you, location, we get location. This one. Location. So the purpose in sharing that with you is to cement in our brains, right? So today we're going to talk about 3 things: laughter, learning, and love. So there's those 3 things. I want you to remember those as we think about creating your legacy. But before we get to those and dig in, I want to give you a couple of quick pro tips. So even if you decide to check out right now, jump on Facebook or Instagram and just spend the rest of this hour scrolling through and liking and posting things, you're going to leave with value after these 2 pro tips right here. Tip number 1, I want you to slow down once per month, at least once per month, and write down one important memory that's happening in your lives. It could be something funny that one of your kids said, could be something you've been struggling with and you want to pass down as a lesson. It could be writing the details of a family vacation or excursion. Whatever it is, write it down. There's just incredible power that comes from slowing down and really deeply recalling the details of a specific event and then writing those details down. If you do this once per month, you'll be amazed at the amount of stories that you'll collect over the years. Stories that honestly might otherwise fade from memory with the passage of time. So tip number 2, purchase a digital photo frame and load your favorite photos from the past few years. Then once a quarter, add more of your favorite photos from that quarter into the file. Don't delete the other ones, just keep adding to it. Add more photos and keep the frame in a location that you'll see often. In our house, we keep it in the kitchen, and frankly, I don't know if you can see me in addition to the screen, but if you can, I've got a digital photo frame right in my office as well. And I keep the same photos on both the home and the office because they're just the favorite pictures of my life. And this one little act will increase the level of joy and gratitude in your life. And looking at the photos as they cycle through, I look at these photos all the time, remind you of the people that are most important in your lives and then the experiences that you've shared with those people. So there's 2 little steps for you. 1, slow down once a month, write down the stories of your life right there and keep those memories so that they can be passed on to the future. And number 2, purchase and set up a digital photo frame in a high traffic location in your home. Those 2 action steps will immediately impact how you go about creating your legacy, and it will give you a constant mental reward as you kind of think on a monthly or daily basis about the awesome things that are happening in your life. So now let's get into the 3 L's, and we're going to start with the first L, laughter. So Stanford research had done a number of studies. One of the research studies shows that laughter can not only have positive effects on your mood, but it can also help in motivation and learning. And it does this by regulating the neurotransmission of dopamine. Dopamine is the reward hormone. And when dopamine is present during an event or experience, we tend to remember it. If it's not present, we tend to forget it, or it's not as important to us. So dopamine is this central chemical in your brain that regulates how we perceive and experience pleasure. And research has also shown that we're 30 times more likely to laugh in the presence of other people rather than when we're alone. So much like yawning, laughter is contagious. And in bringing more laughter to your life, you're able to help and bring more into those that are around you. So by elevating the mood of your family members, you can decrease their stress and help improve the quality of their lives, improve their learning, improve just their overall benefit. And there's lots of benefits of laughter, but for me, one of the most important things is that laughing together, it creates a bond. And it helps to create shared experience. It has the ability to bring us closer together. And we need to remember things where we tend to remember things that were funny that we do as a family unit. And so if we can remember these, like in the scrapbook that Donna gave me, I so remember, which talks about the little stories we would do together because we were laughing together, and it brings all those back. Many, many opportunities to laugh together as a family. There's the simple things like telling jokes. I've got a 4-year-old right now, so being silly is a way that we laugh together. Is just being silly and goofy like these little kids look like on the screen there. Watching your favorite sitcoms together. We actually watch a bunch of sitcoms in our household, and one of our favorites right now is the Goldbergs. I'm a product of the 80s, and if you guys have not watched the Goldbergs, please do yourself a favor and go check that show out. And the other, there's YouTube clips. So there's so much funny stuff you can find on YouTube. Actually, all of my kids, I have a 4-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 17-year-old right now. So all of my kids watch funny stuff and show it to me on YouTube. So it's pretty cool. And then the other is just simply recognizing and enjoying the little funny moments that show up in your life. I'll tell you a story. A number of years ago, probably, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I was out running errands with my daughter, Grace. She was 14 at the time, and we had to run to REI to pick up some clothes that I had ordered. And REI was in a new outdoor lifestyle center that had just been built. And so they were still adding tenants into this lifestyle center. And as we pulled into the parking lot, Grace looked up and pointed at one of the new businesses that were coming into the center. She says, "Hey, Dad, we should take Garfield there." And Garfield was our 15-pound beautiful orange tabby kitty cat. And I looked up at the store where Grace was pointing to. I looked up the logo on the store. And I thought for a minute. I kind of paused, and she was 14, so I was wondering how to respond to her. And I said, "Grace, they work on a different type of kitty at that store." And she looked back at me. She was kind of confused and had her eyebrows a little raised. And the business that she was referring to had this sleek Siamese pink kitty cat as their logo, and it was called the Pretty Kitty. I told Grace, I said, "Grace, it's a Brazilian waxing store." And she raised her hands to her face. She turned beet red and just started laughing so hard, which of course I started laughing so hard, and we're both laughing until literally we cried. There's tears in our eyes. And it was the most incredible, beautiful moment of shared experience and laughter. I was able to kind of treat her as a little bit older, make a little joke, and it was so awesome and a great moment of experience. And so excuse me, to memorialize that moment, as we were leaving the center, I took a picture of the logo, and then I went home and I took a picture of our kitty cat Garfield. And later that evening, I did what I often do and what I encouraged you to do with our pro tips is I wrote a story about that because the details were fresh in my mind, and I never wanted to forget how awesome I felt by that little moment of connection with Grace and I. So wrote a story and saved it to give to her one day. So the next L, second L, is learning. So today we learn really, really differently than previous decades. Certainly today in COVID era, everyone's been forced with this new way of learning. But the old way of learning when I was growing up, or our parents were growing up, it was you learned in school, or maybe the library, or maybe a trade school right there. And if you were lucky, you had an encyclopedia set at your home. Today, so many different ways to learn. So number one, you can see me, I'm holding up my little phone. We can ask Google from this little phone device. I can speak into it and ask my friends at Google pretty much any question I have, and in milliseconds, I will have the answer. Any fact, figure, article, it'll spit it out to me in no time at all. If I need to know how to get somewhere, I just open to Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever, and it will tell me step-by-step instructions on how to get somewhere, whether or not I'm driving, I'm walking, I want to take the train, I want to ride a bike. It'll give me the best path right there and pretty much tell me to the second, or at least to the minute, knowing how I drive, when I will arrive. It's pretty crazy. YouTube, as I mentioned before, YouTube's great for laughter. It's also great for education here. The first time I ever cooked duck, I found the recipe on YouTube. I'd gone hunting with some friends of mine, went and shot a duck, came back, and I'm like, what the heck do I do with this thing now? And so I went and found a recipe on YouTube, and it was good. It was step-by-step instructions, what spices to use, what seasoning and everything, and man, it turned out good. So when I needed a refresher on how to clean a deer, I'd gone hunting after first time in many, many years, and I needed instructions on how to field dress a deer, and I couldn't remember. Luckily, I had an internet connection out there, and I pulled up YouTube. It gave me step-by-step instructions, and it worked. It was great. So really, for step-by-step instructions on just about anything, you go to YouTube. You want to learn how to play piano? YouTube. Learn how to play guitar or any song or anything you want to go, you can go to YouTube and figure this out. Now, my 4-year-old is really into dinosaurs. He's learned every single species of dinosaurs, whether they're a carnivore, an omnivore, an herbivore, and when they lived and how big they were. And, he's looking at whether they were friendly or not friendly there. He's learned all this from watching YouTube videos. It's pretty crazy. And then he watches kids play with YouTube toys, which actually teaches them some stuff. So it's really, really just this whole new wave of learning. Beyond Google and YouTube, there's podcasts. A great way of getting information in is listening or watching podcasts or webcasts right there. And you can learn about anything from investing to startups, digital marketing, personal development, really any other subject you would want. And they can be from scratch to surface, 10 or 15 minute interviews to 3 or 4 hour deep dive Joe Rogan podcast there. And there's books. Used to, we had to go to the library, dig through the card catalog, figure out the Dewey Decimal System, and then go check out a book from the librarian. No more. That day is over. Today, you can order a book and it will be delivered to your or delivered to your doorstep. Many times the next day or within 2 days, some days the same day. Now you can get a book delivered, or if you want it automatically, you can get it on Kindle or Audible delivered, through the air into your device immediately. And I love Kindle because with Kindle, you can highlight, I don't know if you know this about Kindle, but you can highlight passages in Kindle. And then after you've finished reading your book, you can go read just your highlights. So that's a great way that I like to go reread books. And I'll reread my highlights that I had done on the book. So it's a really, really cool way to go back and learn and reinforce learning. And then Audible, our cars have become rolling universities. So if you're not listening to audibles or podcasts in your car, it's something you really ought to consider. Tony Robbins called kind of learning in your car net time, meaning no extra time. So you're in your car already, driving from point to point, use that 30 minutes to improve your mind. And then oftentimes we can hear books that are in the author's own voice. Grant Cardone is one of those just incredible. Jesse Itzler are a couple of really amazing authors to listen to in their own voice because they're funny and they're dynamic and they're passionate about what they're talking about. So many, many, many ways to learn today. Let's remember though, in today's world, information is everywhere and much of the information is socially curated. So it's easy for anyone to have a voice or a platform. And that makes it all the more important for us as parents, grandparents, leaders of our families to teach our family members, teach our children, teach our grandchildren to sort through the noise and the nonsense, not to just believe everything they hear because some expert claims it to be true. Okay, this is our opportunity here. So our friends at State Farm nailed this a number of years ago. So you should be able to hear this video as it plays.
Oh, hey, Mike. Where are you up to?
Just diagramming this accident with my State Farm Pocket Agent app. You can also get a quote and pay your premium with this thing.
I thought State Farm didn't have all those apps.
Where'd you hear that?
The internet.
And you believed it?
Yeah. They can't put anything on the internet that isn't true.
Where'd you hear that? The internet.
Oh, look. Here comes my date. I met him on the internet. He's a French model.
Bonjour.
State Farm, more mobile than ever.
Get to a better state.
That commercial was from a little while ago, but one of my absolute favorites there, and they nailed it, right? There's all this information on the internet, and so many people believe it to be true. And of course, now there's fake news and everything else we get out there. So it's our opportunity to make sure that our children are taking everything with a grain of salt and from the lens that it should be taken with. So children are naturally curious, and let's be certain that curiosity is a keystone to learning. Albert Einstein once said that I have no special talents, I'm only passionately curious. Unfortunately for some, in fact for many, that curiosity is squashed out of them by society and their environment. Einstein also said that it's a miracle that curiosity survives formal education. And with many of the education systems, boy, I can see that as reality. So again, as parents and leaders of our families, we need to foster curiosity and teach our children to be curious for a lifetime. And honestly, teach ourselves to be curious for a lifetime. Curious people, they ask questions like the how, what, when, where, why. They kind of want to understand. Curious people are present. They turn off their phones when they're with others, and they're present in the moment. Curious people are willing to be wrong. They don't feel this need where they have to be right because they know there's opportunity information that they don't understand yet. And they don't let their past determine their future, right? Instead of dwelling on the past, someone who's curious and open-minded right there wants to learn from their mistakes and improve it in the future. So let's all be a little more childlike and keep that sense of childlike wonder and curiosity in our lives. One of the ways that our family has grown and learned together as a family, learn more about ourselves, is to get involved in mastermind groups together. And several years ago, we joined a family mastermind called Fambundance. And so we'll go to events that have between 5 and 25 other families at these events. And then we do deep dives into learning about ourselves and about the members of our family and what we value as a family unit. And it's really cool. These events are highly structured. They're designed to break through barriers. And all of us put up natural barriers when we get in groups with other people, and there's this bravado and this false sense that goes up, and these events are facilitated in such a great manner that it breaks through those barriers and just allows us to get into really who we are. Then we do some work together as family. We work in breakout groups. We'll go from little kids together, middle school kids, high school kids, and adults together, and then come back and create things as a family. We've done some cool things. We've done family values, family crest. We've done individual and family goal setting and kind of future visioning, what we want our individual future to look like and our future together as a family to look like. Highly valuable stuff. And then at these events, it's really cool because they're usually held at some cool location, and we'll do fun experiences together as a family. That's included skiing, snowboarding, mountain activities, adventure courses, ropes courses, canoeing, paddleboarding, water sports, all kinds of cool stuff that gets some adrenaline, gets some dopamine going, and allows us to really connect as a unit. And all that put together, right? Curated content, facilitated exercise, shared adventure, all that puts together for a really incredibly powerful learning environment. The guy on the upper right-hand corner of the screen is Jim Shields. He and his family do something really cool. They have a family book club. And so once a month, or I guess each month, they choose a different book that they're going to read together as a family. And then each week they'll have a 1-hour family meeting to discuss what they read for that week and how each of them perceived what they read and what it meant to them. And then they've even done a couple of sessions where they posted those family meetings online on social media. That's how I learned about this. I was like, man, how cool to watch them and talking about what they read, because each one of them perceived things a little bit differently and they pulled out of what they read a little bit differently. What an amazing way to reinforce individually, hey, this is what I read. And then as a group, ooh, wow, Dad caught this part, or mom caught that part, or so-and-so caught that part. I think that was an amazing, cool thing. And what a wonderful way for their family to teach their children how to kind of think and decipher and learn information. So lots of opportunities for us to learn together. And I want to encourage you to learn with your families. And now on to the final L, and this is love. Gary Chapman, so Dr. Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages, and I think it's about 20 years old now. Just an amazing, but I didn't come across it until 2 or 3 years ago, and I've read it several times. He nailed it. He really nailed how love is received by different people. And in his book, 5 Love Languages, they talk about 5 different ways people receive love. And there's words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So taking the time to really understand how our family members have and receive love in different ways can really improve our communication and strengthen our bond together. Now that's something, frankly, I was not even aware of until a few years ago. So number one, having an awareness of it was a big thing for me. And then to start to study and learn and realize how people receive love, so powerful. So with words of affirmation, be clear, actions don't always speak louder than words. If words of affirmation is your love language, then compliments will mean the world to you. And hearing that you're valued and appreciated, something that'll lift your spirits and fill you with energy. And sometimes it's as simple as a little thank you to your spouse that will fill their bucket, make them feel appreciated. Sometimes it's much deeper. I remember very clearly sitting at my desk one Saturday afternoon and doing some work at my desk. And my daughter Grace, who was 12 at the time, came in the room. She came, sat down on my lap, put her arms around my neck, and she said, "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to marry a man just like you." And I was like, oh my goodness. You know about words of affirmation that could not get any more powerful than that. It was the best thing I could have hoped for. It validated, me as a father. It validated everything I was trying to do to set a great example to my family, to be a great husband and example to them, and the way I was leading my life. It was such a powerful event for me, and I've shared that example dozens of times, and it's just meant the world. So those kind of words can really, really move the needle for people. My advice to each of you is never let a single day pass without telling your spouse and your children how much they mean to you, how much you love them. Even if that doesn't come naturally to you, saying those things, get out of your comfort zone and please do it. We never know how much time we have. So quality time, for those who value quality time, like nothing says I love you like your full and undivided attention. How often do we see the mom or dad at a soccer game or recital or baseball game or something where they're watching their kids, but they're not really watching their kids because they got their little phone up and they're texting back and forth right there, or they're checking their social media and they're not engaged. And then you look at the kid on the field who's so proud of what he or she is doing right there, and they're looking back at mom and they see mom or dad not paying attention. That matters. That really affects them, and that is not quality time. So please, please, please ditch the phone, or at least turn it on airplane mode, because I know all of us use our phones for cameras these days, but ditch the phone, pay attention to the person that matters, because that person needs and deserves your attention. My friend Jim Shields, that is doing the family book club thing I mentioned earlier, he wrote a book called The Family Board Meeting, and you should all get a copy of that book, Family Board Meeting. It's about 90 pages long, and it's big print. Is my kind of book. You can literally read it in a couple of hours time. And it's an outline of how you can create these really wonderful, intense one-on-one relationship with your children. And I'll give you the long and the short of kind of how his framework there. And it's to ask your children, ask your child, it's a one-on-one endeavor, not a one-to-many. So it's dad to child or mom to child. So ask your child, hey, what's something that they want to do, that they would just love to do, to go out with you one-on-one? Is it camping? Is it to a movie? Is it to anything that they would want to do? Is it to Fossil Rim? Is it to Six Flags? What's the thing that they would love to do? Not you and your influence. What would they love to do? And then put that on the calendar, protect the time, block 4 hours or more on the calendar right there. And then talk about it, build up to it, get excited about the event that you're going to do. And then when the day comes, make a big freaking deal about, we're turning off the phone, or you're turning the phone to airplane mode, so it's only good for pictures right there. And if your children are older and they have phones as well, same thing. We're all turning our phones on airplane mode, and it's just connection time. And then you go spend that time with your child, just one-on-one, hanging out with them, enjoying it, being grateful for the time you have together, and loving on them. And then after the event, go and break bread together. Go sit down and spend an hour at a restaurant or a coffee shop or something there, and hang out together and just talk about whatever they want to talk about. Talk about what you just did. Talk about the experience and what you loved about that, what they loved about it, what was their favorite part. And through this exercise, it is amazing how your children just start to open up and tell them about everything, tell you about their lives and the great stuff that's happening in their lives, or maybe what their friends are doing, or what they're concerned about, or what they're scared about. And it's a great way to create a deeper, more meaningful connection and bond. I've been doing that for a few years now with my kids, and it has meant the world. Most recently, with my son Knox, this was probably February pre-COVID, maybe January, February pre-COVID. We went to the K1 carts, which are the really cool electric go-karts, I guess. They're like little F1 go-karts. They go about 45, 50 miles an hour. They're so fun. We both had a blast. We went there, got signed up, got the training lessons and everything we needed to go through it, and ended up doing several sessions together. So fun. The competition we had together was 15. So the competition we were having together just bonded us. It was super fun. We were like the fastest two amongst all the people that we were racing. So it was really, really cool experience for us to do. Afterwards, we went to dinner and hung out together, and it just like the book kind of elaborates on, the conversation starts flowing, the barriers break down. It's this really, really great opportunity for bonding, communication, and deepening of everything. So take some time, quality time, important one, and enjoy that. Next on the love languages is receiving gifts. And so don't mistake this for materialism, because the receiver of the gifts is not looking for value. They're looking for thoughtfulness and the effort behind the gift. Now, these are heartfelt symbols of the person giving to the person receiving right there. So it's all about the intent and the thoughtfulness of the act. And I struggle with this, because I'm going to tell you, receiving gifts is like the lowest of my love languages. I don't care about receiving gifts. It's not important to me. Yet, guess what my wife's number one love language is? And it's receiving gifts. And it's not a materialistic thing. She just wants that thoughtfulness that comes into it. And so it can be, if I hear her talking about wanting to plant flowers in the garden, or plant a little garden or flowers in the flower beds, and I go pick up a magazine for her on gardening and give it to her. It's a little $3 or $4 magazine. That right there shows her that I care, and that I'm engaged, and that I'm listening, and that she matters to me. So the act warms her heart and lets her know that she's valued. Now, so the gardening example, the magazine, I've won at that little thing. But let me tell you how I failed. So we were at the airport in earlier this year, right? Probably February, I think, coming back from Las Vegas together. And we get off the plane, and she says, "Oh, I'm so thirsty. I need something to drink." And I'm thinking, look, we're about to pick up our luggage. We're going to get our car at the parking spot. And they always give us 2 free cold bottles of water right there. It's coming up here in a few minutes. We're all good. And so we're walking down the baggage claim and making our way there. And I turn around like a minute later, and she's at the little stand buying a bottle of water, buying like a $4 bottle of water, which drives me nuts in the airport. So I'm thinking, cheap Ken, I'm going to save the $4. Well, guess what? She's over there. She bought the bottle of water, and I just lost an opportunity to have an act of service, to give her a gift, a little gift that she got on her own right there. And it was a fail. So none of us are perfect, and there's an opportunity of my little fail right there. So next in the love languages is acts of service. So for those who value acts of service, this is where acts do speak louder than words. And they don't have to be the actions. They don't have to be monumental gestures. It just needs to show that you care and that it's meaningful to the person receive it. It could be something as simple as helping your spouse with the dishes, giving your spouse a break while you do the dishes yourself right there. And it depends on who has these roles in the house, but you take on a role that's not normally yours and take it off of the person that you love, take it off of their plate. Could be that you get your oil changed in your kid's vehicle or your spouse's vehicle without being asked. Could be you help with the laundry, or you do the laundry, or you take your kids for the day and give your spouse a break. Any of those are great little easy acts of service that can really express your love. Whatever it is, it just needs to be meaningful to the recipient. And that's sometimes the tough part, is slowing down and speaking in someone else's love language. And then we have physical touch. So we've long understood the power of physical touch. It's why we pick up babies and hold them and touch them tenderly. Long before an infant understands the meaning of the word love, they understand love by physical touch. If this is your primary love language, nothing communicates more than loving physical contact. It can be holding hands, hugging, a hand on your knee or your shoulder. And for me, this is my primary love language. It means something to me when I'm able to connect with others right here. And so if I'm able to have hugs, and I love holding hands with my family, and honestly, on my digital photo frame, right, some of the favorite photos I have are me walking, holding hands with my family members. So imagine my shock and dismay when a number of years ago, like 4 years ago, Grace, again, my daughter was 13 at the time, and I was walking her into school, and I reached out to hold her hand, and she pulled her hand away from me. And I'm thinking, what on earth is going on here? And my heart felt broken. Like we'd, up until that point, had been so physical and holding hands. And I guess mentally I understood, right? She's a teenager now, or into the school parking lot, and I'm trying to hold her hand, and that's not cool. I'm dad. And maybe she's going to be judged by her friends. But emotionally, that didn't add up. I was like, it was like breaking my little heart right there. So, but luckily she came around. It took a couple more years of her finding her way. And she came around. By age 16, she was back holding my hand and hugging me and being willing to let me in her life in public there. So, and then my boys, Knox, who's 16 now, and Kai, he's 4. They've never lost that desire. We're all kind of physical touch kind of people, and I'm grateful for that. So all of the love languages are important, right? All 5 of them are important, yet the most important love language is that your family members or loved ones speak, the ones that speak to them, rather, the ones that are important to them. So understand how they receive love and speak to them in that love language. So there it is. There's the power in the 3 L's: laughter, learning, and love. That really is at the heart of leaving a legacy, providing you the foundational pillars that will enable you to do so in your life. I live this every day. I'm proof that it triggers smiles and proud peacock chests right there. And today I want to challenge each of you to start working on your legacy in the next 48 hours. So you got everything you need right in front of you. I want to give you 3 action steps so that you can really initiate this incredibly rewarding endeavor. One, I mentioned it earlier, slow down and experience the moments that you're living. Okay. Number two, be grateful. Gratitude is so powerful. Gratitude will allow grace into your life. Gratitude will reveal happiness that's all around you. Gratitude will bring tranquility into your world. Number three, write a story. Take 30 minutes once per month. Write a story about what's been happening in your life. I've done this, and this comes as a result of me leading my life. I've been writing stories to my children since Grace was 1 year old and Knox was in the womb. So for 17 years right now, I've been writing. I started with just once per month. I made a commitment. Again, Knox was in the womb, and I was like, what can I do here? And I made a commitment that once per month, I would slow down, I would focus on whatever's happening in our lives, and I would tell a story that I could one day pass on to my children. And that once a month for each child just has added up and added up. And there have been months where I've missed or I've followed. I've never gone more than like 3 months, but many times I'll write, 2 or 3 or 4 in a month. But the commitment is at least once per month, because that was a livable endeavor for me. And now, 17 years later, I've got hundreds and hundreds of entries that have captured the moments of our lives that are really, really important. I've documented every single family vacation we've gone on with photos, names of who we were with. Because honestly, years later, I might not remember some of the people that we met along the way in these different adventures we've had. And so, but I've got it all documented for years and years and years. And I've told hundreds of parents about this over the years. And many, many have started doing the same thing and journaling to their own kids and capturing those moments. And more people over the years started encouraging me to do something with that. They're like, Ken, you need to create some kind of program or something and do it to help others so that they can take action and do what you're doing. And so I have done so. I have created something called Legacy of Love. It's an app on an iPhone, on an Android, on a tablet, on your computer. It's cross-platform. It's one place to capture moments, memories, and life lessons that can be passed down for future generations. It's a private endeavor. This is not social media for all the world to see. This is private between you and your family members that you'll one day give to them. It's really cool. The system automatically logs your age, your child's age with every entry, and in essence creates a digital timeline of your life and your child's lives. And it's really cool. Certain entries can be tagged as milestones, and so that you can look at the major events of your child's life, like a modern day growth, like a digital growth chart for the modern day. It's really, really cool. And, you say photos, videos, voicemails, it's so awesome. So I encourage you, please check this out. You can download a free app. And for me, I've got a year. In May 2021, my daughter Grace will be graduating high school, and this is going to be my gift to her. Now, of course, she knows I'm doing this now. She didn't for years until I created an app. She knows I'm doing it. They all know, but they've never seen one entry that I've made to them. And this will be 18 years of her life through my eyes. It will be my gift to her in 1 year. And so, encourage you to start that same kind of endeavor for your children and your grandchildren there. So know this, though, life is not always sunshine and rainbows. And no matter how good of a life you lead, no matter what a wonderful example you are as a parent or grandparent or business leader, no matter how great you are, there is a sucker punch waiting out there for you. And it will come. It's going to hit you, and it's going to hit you hard, and it's going to knock you down. I'll tell you a little story about me. About 18 months ago, you've heard me mention my son a number of times, but 18 months ago, my ex-wife, she and I have a really, really good co-parenting relationship. And my ex-wife gets a call from our son's friend and says, hey, I want to let you know that your son and my son, I caught them smoking pot. So he was 14 years old at the time. And many people may think, hey, that's okay. It's experimentation. It's this, that, and the other. For us, it's not okay. We have rampant addiction in both sides of our family that has taken lives. It's taken people to jail, and it's in our blood in a big way. And so for us, anything like that is not okay. So we addressed it. We talked about the addiction. We talked about everything there. And then we thought we had it handled, and we kind of went on, and everything was good. And it was, we were good until it wasn't good. And we realized maybe October, so I think it was October, I had caught Knox in a great big lie. The details aren't important, but I caught him in a really big lie that he thought he was being smart and getting away with something. And that lie led me down a path. And I realized that he and these little hooligan friends he was hanging out with had been smoking pot. I searched his backpack. I found a jewel pin in his backpack. Like, so much trust had been violated in our relationship right there. I had to drug test him, and it came back positive for THC. And it was the most miserable, shitty experience of my life to have to drug test this child that I love so much and go through that. We put him on lockdown at this point, right? We addressed it once, it came back, and it came back heavy. We put him on lockdown. He couldn't even shut his door while he was grounded here. We took away all of his electronics. He was just, towing the line, going to school, doing his things. We got him into counseling. We dug in really deep, and it took almost 6 weeks to get a clean UA. That's a long time. And what that told me was that the usage was really heavy prior to those 6 weeks to take that long to get out of his system. And that was a rough time period right there, doing UAs each week. And we finally have started to get back to normal after that. I remember when we first got that clean UA, I mean, he cried and I cried and we hugged just for finally getting over this barrier. And during that time, though, he really re-engaged with the family. He re-engaged with his little brother. I didn't realize how unengaged he had become, honestly. I was a little oblivious to that. And now we've finally been able to start getting back to normal. But yeah, I can tell you today, I'm still giving him UAs to check. And that's a horrible feeling as a father, yet I feel like that's my obligation to try to do my part to keep him on the right path. And let me tell you, that took an incredible amount of love to get through this process. We learned an amazing amount about each other. I learned about my own blind spots, learned about his boredom and curiosity. And through it all, we've kind of finally gotten back to the laughter that's allowed us to bond so much, and finally gotten us back to there. So just understand that no matter how great things are, there's going to be challenges that come along that we'll have to get through. So with that, I want to thank you so much. You need to connect with me or get in touch. There's my information right there. Check us out at legacyoflove.app. And I will I'll kind of stop the screen share, happy to answer any questions and give any feedback, whatever you guys need. Sarah, if you're talking, you're muted.
I know. I was trying to unmute. Hey, Ken, I was going to ask, okay, so tell us a little bit more about the app. Like, does it remind you? I think that's my hardest part. You had told me this a few years ago, and oh my goodness, going back and reading in Evernote some of my stories that I'd written to my girls, it's like I start crying. I can't even imagine how much they will. And it's interesting right now, we're getting ready for my mom's 60th birthday. And I'm just realizing like how valuable it is to have pictures, and like her mom doesn't really have that many pictures of her and no stories of her. And I even yearned for that. Like I yearned to know my mom as a high schooler and as a middle schooler, and when her and my dad first got married. And so I just think about like how cool that will be as a legacy, not only for my girls, but for their kids.
That's right. Imagine, hearing your grandparents' stories about your parents. How awesome would that be? And about their hopes and dreams and desires for them. That's what I'm hoping to help people create with this. And so, yes, it does remind you. You can tell the app to remind you if you haven't journaled in a week, in 3 weeks, in a month, or you set the time frame, and you'll get both email and pop-up reminders on there. As we advance in the app, we'll have some artificial intelligence that will start to recognize, hey, Tara, you just took 27 pictures at this place today. Is that something that was important to you? Do you want to write a story about that?
So that is amazing. Now, can you upload pictures as well?
Oh yeah. Pictures, video, audio. And so from your mom's 60th, shoot video, interview her, ask her, write some questions beforehand, and ask your kids, hey, what would we want to know about grandma, right? And interview her those, because that will be gold, where it's her words and her video right there. It will be gold in the future. So
that's awesome. And then also, I think that the platform also, you can invite grandparents, right? Write.
Yeah. So we have a few different plans, and like our free plan on there, like is it's free. You can journal with as many kids as you have, and it's just one photo. But for all the heavy media stuff, our family plan, which is our biggest, is really cool. You can have you plus 6 other family members, so spouse, grandparents, nanny, favorite uncle, aunt, something like that, that would all journal to the same group of people. And it's really, really kind of neat. So, and then our next, like really this year, one of our next major things that has to be done in the next year, because Grace is graduating, keep in mind, so I am the ultimate test case, is that we will have really cool book auctions, that like hard copy books, so that you can get to the end of the year and print out, hey, here's my 2020 year of all the entries that I made to all my kids, or to this, for each kid, however you want to do it. Kind of cool stuff.
So cool. Well, this has been so inspiring. Thank you. I'd love to know if anybody else has questions.
Questions or ahas? Who's got a few takeaways?
So many takeaways. I think memories are so important. And I mean, like, even when you look back at your own life and just like the moments that really matter to you, you can really take into consideration, the things that are worth keeping a memory of for your kids or family members or friends even.
Yeah.
So good.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing, Ken.
Thank you. Well, look, thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me, for spending your hour with me. Again, I don't take that lightly. I know how important that is. So I'm grateful for each of you, for your time and for your attention. And if there's ever anything I can do for anyone, please feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. You're so great. Thanks, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
Hey, I was going to check with you. Is there any way to post things from the past, like past vacations, or is it just like when you sign up, it's from this point going forward?
No. You can backdate anything. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can backdate, and the cool thing is the system ties the date of the entry to. I don't even talk about it. So what I freaking love. It will say your age and your kid's age. And this is the cool thing for me. When I can read it, I'm like, wow, I was 38 and I was a new dad here, and you were 1 year old. And so, yeah, you can backdate stuff, and the entry will backdate with your correct ages at that time as well.
Yeah, that's cool. We've got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. Yes, and so let me throw the yes and on that. Is just don't feel overwhelmed by it. Please just take action and even start from today. And then, if you did one monthly entry about what's happening current, and then maybe do one monthly entry about something in the past, you'd be shocked within a couple of years the amazing stories and the collection of stories that you've collected.
Cool. Well, thanks. This is awesome.
Thanks. Okay, then thanks so much. I guess we'll sign off from here. And Tara, we'll connect here in a little bit.
Okay, sounds good. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you
All
all.
right, bye.
Bye-bye.